Next chapter, calorimetry. So what is the calorimetry? Already we know when you supply some heat energy to the, what is the heat energy? What is the heat or heat energy? Heat or heat energy. Between the two bodies, because of temperature difference, the form of energy that transfers from one body to another body because of temperature difference is called the heat energy. Okay, so here suppose there are two bodies at a different temperatures. There are two bodies at a different temperatures, T1 and T2. Okay, suppose T1 greater than T2. No doubt exchange of heat energy takes place between them. But because of temperature difference here, there is a net flow of heat energy from one body to another body. That means from body at higher temperature to the body at lower temperature. That form of energy flow from one body to another body is called the heat energy. Okay, so here transfer of heat energy takes place from high and low to high, high to low also. But net transfer of heat energy takes place always from higher temperature to lower temperature. Suppose T1 greater than T2, then heat energy transmission, net transfer of heat energy takes place from higher temperature T1 to T2 only. Okay, so the form of heat energy, the form of heat energy flows between two bodies due to temperature difference. Due to temperature difference is called heat or heat energy. So what is the amount of heat energy flown from one body to, what is the net amount of heat energy flown from one body to another body? In order to study the amount of heat energy flown from one body to another body or the amount of heat energy absorbed by any body to rise the temperature, we will discuss in calorimetry. That's why calorimetry is the branch of physics which deals with the amount of heat energy absorbed or amount of heat energy transmitted between the two bodies due to temperature difference, etc. So it is the calorimetry is the branch of physics which deals with the flow of heat energy from one body to another body due to temperature difference. Okay, the device used to measure the heat energy flow from one body to another body due to temperature difference is called calorimeter. The device is called calorimeter, and the branch of physics which deals with the amount of heat energy transmitted from one body to another body due to temperature difference is called the calorimetry. Okay, next, heat energy is measured in heat energy is generally represented with Q or H sometimes. Okay, so SI unit of heat energy, SI unit, joule. SI unit of heat energy is joule, symbol capital J. Next, CGS unit. CGS unit. What is the CGS unit? Calorie. Heat energy is measured in calorie. So CA, small CA. So the relation between these two is 1 calorie is equal to 4.2 joule. 1 calorie is equal to 4.2 joule. So what is the dimensional formula of heat energy means? It is nothing but energy. Any kind of energy is having same dimensional formula as that of the kinetic energy, potential energy, work done. Okay. So ml square T to the power of minus 2 is the dimensional formula of the dimensional formula of Q is equal to ml square T to the power of minus 2. That means m to the power of 1 L square T to the power of minus that is the dimensional formula. Next, thermal capacity or heat capacity. 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 It is say capital H. Thermal capacity or heat capacity means, suppose we are given certain mass of the substance, that may be solid or liquid or gas, whatever it may be. We are given certain mass of the substance. In order to raise the temperature of the substance, what we have to do? To raise the temperature of the substance, what we have to do? Tell me. to raise the temperature of the substance, we have to supply some heat energy to the substance. Okay, suppose dq amount of heat energy supplied to the substance. dq amount of heat energy supplied to the substance to raise the temperature of it by dt. Small t is the temperature. Okay, dt is the rise in temperature because of supply of this amount of heat energy to the body. Okay, when dq amount of heat energy is required to raise the temperature of the given substance by dt temperature rise, then what is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of temperature by 1 degree centigrade? That is called thermal capacity or heat capacity. So this is equal to heat. So thermal capacity or heat capacity means the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of the given mass of substance by 1 degree is called the thermal capacity. The amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of given mass of the substance by 1 degree centigrade or 1 degree Kelvin is called the thermal capacity or heat capacity. Because here temperature difference we can express in centigrade scale or Kelvin scale. It makes no difference because the temperature difference in centigrade scale or Kelvin scale both are equal. That's why we can measure in any units, centigrade or Kelvin scale. Okay, now what is the SI unit of this thermal capacity? What is the SI unit of this thermal capacity? SI unit. Here, heat energy means joule by temperature difference means Kelvin. In CGS system, CGS unit of thermal capacity is calorie per degree centigrade. Okay. Here actually 1 calorie is equal to 4.186 joules we can write, but approximately 4.2 round figure I have written. Okay, next. What is the dimension formula of this H? Dimension formula of capital H is equal to. Here heat energy means no doubt ml square T to the power of -2 by temperature difference or temperature that may be represented with K or theta. So you write K. Okay, therefore dimension formula of thermal capacity is equal to ml square T to the power of -2 K inverse. Okay, here we can write 1 power 1. So this is the dimension formula of the thermal capacity or heat capacity. On which factors the thermal capacity or heat capacity depends? No doubt, H depends on quantity of matter. And what is the mass of the substance taken? On that quantity of matter, thermal capacity depends. Suppose if you are having more mass, in order to raise the temperature of the more mass by 1 degree, more heat energy is required. Okay, that's why thermal capacity is said to be more. That's why it depends on mass, nature of substance. Some substances even absorbs the small amount of heat energy only. Rise in temperature will be more, like conductors, etc. So nature of substance. So these are the factors on which the thermal capacity depends. Okay. So thermal capacity depends on this mass and the nature of the substance. Next. In this note point, okay. First I will discuss another point, then I will discuss note point. Specific heat. Specific heat. It is represented with C or S. Specific heat is a C. Here, this is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of the given mass of the substance by 1 degree. That is equal to heat capacity. So, suppose M mass of the substance, M grams of substance requires dq amount of heat energy to raise the temperature by dt amount. Then what is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of M mass of the substance by 1 degree means dq by dt. Okay. So this is the amount of heat energy required to raise the given mass of substance by 1 degree. Okay. Then what is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance or unit mass of substance by 1 degree means by m. By m means 1 by m into dq by dt we can write. It is the specific heat. So what is this is also called as the principal specific heat also. It is also called as the principal specific heat. Principal specific heat. So the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of unit mass of the substance by 1 degree is called the principal specific heat. Okay. This is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of unit mass of the substance by 1 degree is called the principal specific heat or simply specific heat. Okay, what is on what factors it depends? It depends on the nature of the substance. It depends on the nature of the substance. Okay, but does not depends on the mass, because for any substance per unit mass only we are taking. That's why it does not depends on the mass, it depends on the nature of the substance. C depends on nature of substance. Nature of substance. C depends on nature of substance. Next, in specific heat, you see here heat capacity is capital H. So specific heat is equal to from this formula, principal specific heat C is equal to 1 by m into dq by dt. Okay, what is the SI unit of principal specific heat? SI unit. SI unit of the specific heat means here it is joule by case per degree Kelvin. Okay, Celsius unit. Calorie per gram, mass is measured in gram per degree centigrade. Okay, so suppose if you want to change, we are given calorie per gram per degree centigrade. Suppose we are given 1 calorie per gram per degree centigrade. It is given. Now, how we can convert this into joule per case per Kelvin? 1 calorie means 4.2 joule. Okay, 1 calorie is 4.2 joule by gram means 10 to the power minus 3 kilogram. 10 to the power by 10 to the power minus 3 means into 10 to the power 3 into 10 to the power 3 per case. Change in temperature is same in centigrade scale or Kelvin scale. That's why per Kelvin directly we can write. Therefore, 1 calorie per gram per degree centigrade is equal to 4200 joule per case per Kelvin we can write. This relation is also important. Okay, now 1 minute. So in here, it is the dimensional formula of the principal specific heat or specific heat. Okay, in general, in case of solid substances, as there is no change in the volume, there is no considerable change in the volume when pressure increases. The solids are having only one specific heat of the substance. Okay, but in case of gases, to raise the temperature of the gas by keeping volume constant, we can raise the temperature. By keeping pressure also constant, we can raise the temperature. That's why in case of gases, there are two types of specific heats. Okay, so principal specific heat at constant pressure, principal specific heat at constant volume. Okay, before that, we have to discuss the molar specific heat also. Molar specific heat. In case of gases, okay, I will discuss the molar specific heat now. Molar specific heat. It is represented with capital C. It is represented with the capital C. It is small c. It is capital C. Okay, molar specific heat. Suppose we have taken n moles of the gas. We have taken n moles of the gas. To raise the temperature of n moles of the gas by dt amount, the amount of heat energy required is equal to say dq. N moles of the given gas requires dq amount of heat energy to raise the temperature by dt amount. Okay, then what is the amount of heat energy required to raise the n moles of the gas by 1 degree centigrade means dq by dt. So this dq by dt is the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of n moles of the gas by 1 degree centigrade or 1 degree Kelvin. Then what is the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree centigrade or 1 degree Kelvin means dq by dt by n. By n means we can write 1 by n into this one. It is called the molar specific heat of the given gas. So molar specificity means the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree is called 1 degree Kelvin or 1 degree centigrade is called the molar specificity. Okay. So here what is the SI unit? SI unit. SI unit is here joule, heat energy joule by number of, it is the number of moles. That's why mole, joule per mole per Kelvin. CGS unit, calorie per some calorie per mole per Kelvin. Sorry, per degree centigrade. Calorie per mole per degree centigrade. Sometimes you will be given like this per degree centigrade. Okay. Next, what is the dimension formula? Here it is ml square t to the power of -2 by number of moles means it is a quantity of matter. So it is kept like this only. dt, rise of temperature. Rise of temperature means capital K. Capital K. Okay. Therefore, this is equal to, of course, here it is mole. No? It is equal to mole. You see, here it is equal to heat capacity C into M. We can write. Similarly, here also 1 by N into dq by dt means dq means ml square t to the power of -2 by K. Here number of moles means simply it is written mole only. MOL mole. It is written MOL only. So it's up. Now you simplify them. That is equal to M L square t to the power of -2 K inverse. ML square t to the power of -2 into K inverse. Okay, that is the 1 minute. If there is a doubt. Okay, relation between principal specific heat and molar specific heat means principal specific heat small c is equal to 1 by m into dq by dt. We know molar specific heat 1 by n into dq by dt. 1 by n means mass by molecular weight. Since number of moles is equal to mass by molecular weight, no? Molecular weight. Of course, mass is represented with small m, molecular weight is with capital M. Okay, therefore, small m means mass by molecular weight into dq by dt. Here, capital M into 1 by m into dq by dt can be written as principal specific heat. No? Therefore, molar specific heat is equal to molecular weight times the principal specific heat. Okay, this is the relation between these two. Next, types of specific heats. This molar principal specific heat at constant pressure, principal specific heat at constant volume. Principal specific heat, principal specific heat at constant volume and constant pressure. At constant volume, principal specific heat at constant volume is represented by small c suffix v. Okay, suppose we have taken m mass of the gas. The amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of m mass of the gas at constant volume by dt amount is dq. Okay, then at constant volume, the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of the unit mass of the gas by 1 degree is called principal specific heat at constant volume. Okay, now at constant volume, the amount of heat is required to raise the unit mass of the gas by 1 degree is called the principal specific heat at constant volume. Similarly, principal specific heat at constant pressure means formula is same 1 by m into dq by dt, but definition is different. At constant pressure, the amount of heat is required to raise the unit mass of the gas by 1 degree is called 1 degree Kelvin or 1 degree centigrade is called the principal specific heat at constant pressure. Okay. So here, next, what about the molar specific at constant pressure and molar specific at constant volume? Same formulas, but we have tried the number of moles here. Molar specific heat at constant pressure and constant volume. Molar specific at constant volume is represented by capital CV. So at constant volume, n moles of the gas requires dq amount of heat energy to rise the temperature by 1 degree Kelvin or 1 degree centigrade. Then at constant volume, the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree means 1 by n into dq by dt. Okay, of course, we have seen this formula, but at constant volume, that's why at constant volume I mentioned. So at constant volume, the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree is called molar specific constant volume. Similarly, molar specific constant pressure, capital Cp is equal to, formula is same, 1 by m in n into dq by dt. Of course, Cp will be greater than Cv. So at constant pressure, the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree is called the molar specific constant pressure. The ratio between molar specific, here what is the relation between molar specific and principal specific? Already molar specific heat is equal to molecular weight into C. No? Similarly here also molar specific heat at constant volume is equal to molecular weight into principal specific heat at constant volume. Similarly, molar specific at constant pressure is equal to molecular weight into principal specific at constant pressure. These are the relations. The ratio between molar specific at constant pressure to molar specific at constant volume, that is called the adiabatic constant. That is represented with gamma, which is called adiabatic constant. Adiabatic constant. The ratio between molar specific at constant pressure to the molar specific at constant volume is called the adiabatic constant. Of course, this is also equal to ratio between principal specific at constant pressure to principal specific at constant volume, because Cp by Cv means Cp means mCp by mCv, cancel Cp by Cv. That's why the ratio between these two that is equal to adiabatic constant gamma. This adiabatic constant gamma depends on atomicity of the gas. Atomicity of gas. Atomicity means number of atoms in a molecule. Atomicity means number of molecules in the number of atoms in a molecule of the gas. That is called atomicity. For monoatomic gas, I think you are having in chemistry monoatomic gas. Gamma is equal to, what is the formula for monoatomic gas? What is the gamma value? What is the gamma value? 5 by, for monoatomic gas, gamma value is 5 by 3 now. So gamma value is equal to 5 by 3. Okay, for diatomic gas, gamma value is equal to 7 by 5. For triatomic or polyatomic gas, for triatomic or polyatomic gas, gamma value is equal to 4 by 3. These are the gamma values. Okay. Here, now based on this concept, what is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of the given n moles of the gas by dT temperature is what? Heat energy. heat energy required to raise the temperature. You see, in case of any type of specific heat, molar specific, principal specific, whatever it may be, here heat energy required to raise the temperature. Heat energy required to raise the temperature of the given gas at constant pressure. You see here, at constant volume, heat energy required to raise the temperature of the 1 mole of the gas by 1 degree is equal to this one. Then in order to heat the at constant volume, in order to raise the temperature of n moles of the gas by dt amount, what is the heat energy required means you do cross multiplication. dq they ask it. dq is equal to ncv dt we can write now. So q is equal to n into cv into dt we can write. Or suppose if you are given principal specific heat, of course in general you write. In general you write molar specific heat. Capital C is the molar specific heat. So for n moles, to raise the temperature of the n moles of the gas by dt temperature, the amount of heat is required is equal to nc dt. Suppose the amount of heat is required to raise the n moles of the gas at constant volume means you have to write Cv. Okay. Next, for m mass of gas, heat is required is equal to, for m mass of the gas means already specific heat, principal specific heat you know. Small c is equal to 1 by m into dq by dt. dq is equal to mc dt now. M small c into dt. M small c into dt. Okay. Now in this note point, sometimes suppose the specific heat of the given substance varies with the temperature. Specific heat of the given substance varies with the temperature according to the equation. If specific heat, it is very important. If specific heat varies with the temperature, T of substance, according to the equation, something will be given. C is equal to some function of T will be given. Suppose C is equal to some AT square plus BT. It is given like this. The specific heat varies with the temperature according to the equation C is equal to AT square plus BT. Then heat is required. In this case, heat required to raise the m mass of substance. M mass of substance. To raise the temperature of m mass of the substance. To raise the temperature of m mass of the substance. To raise the temperature of m mass of substance from T1 degrees centigrade to T2 degrees centigrade is dash. Actually, suppose when the specific heat varies with temperature, in such case, a small rise of temperature dt, there is no conceivable change in the C value. That's why a small rise of temperature dt, heat is required is equal to dq is equal to m into C into dt. That is equal to m into C means AT square plus BT into dt. It is the amount of heat is required to raise the temperature of the m mass of the substance by small change of temperature dt. Therefore, total heat is required to raise the temperature of the given substance from T1 to T2 is equal to integral dq between the limits T1 to T2. That is equal to integral. Here dq means m into AT square plus BT into dt. Of course, the relation, whatever the relation given for C, we have substitute here. Okay, into dt from T1 to T2. In this way, we can find. By using this formula. Okay. So limits T1 to T2 we have tried. Here T1 to T2. These limits are T1 to T2. Because temperature is raised from T1 to T2, no? That's why here we have tried T1 to T2. Okay. Next. So to raise the temperature of any substance, we have to supply the heat energy. Whenever we supply the heat energy to the substance, the temperature of the substance gradually increases, and after reaching certain temperature, even if you supply the heat energy, there is no change in the temperature of the substance. At that time, whenever the temperature of the substance reaches a maximum value, at that time when you further supply the heat energy, then that heat energy supplied at constant temperature, the heat energy supplied to the substance is utilized to change the state of the substance. To change the state of the substance. ఎందుకంటే at initial whenever you supply the heat energy to the substance, due to that the temperature of the substance gradually increases, and whenever the temperature of the substance reaches a particular maximum value, after that even if further supply the heat energy, there is no change in the temperature of the substance, but the additional heat energy supplied to the substance at constant temperature is utilized to change the state of the substance. Okay, such amount of heat energy supply to the substance to change the state, its state at a constant temperature is called the latent heat. That is called the latent heat. Now we have to discuss the latent heat. Latent means hidden heat energy, because at a constant temperature when you supply the heat energy to the substance, whenever the temperature reaches the maximum value for the given substance, at that temperature when you supply the heat energy, there is no rise in the temperature. So whatever the heat energy supplied now, actually when you supply the heat energy, the temperature will change. That's why the heat energy supplied is converted into rise of temperature. But whenever the temperature of the substance reaches a maximum value, at that time when you supply the heat energy, there is no considerable change in the rise of temperature. There is no change in the rise temperature. But whatever the amount of heat energy supplied, that amount of heat energy supplied is utilized to change the state of the substance. Because of that, the amount of heat energy supplied is stored hidden inside the substance as the internal energy. That is called the latent heat. Latent means hidden heat energy. So latent heat is generally represented with capital L. How we can define this latent heat? Suppose the amount of heat energy supplied, to raise the amount at constant temperature. This is the amount of heat energy required to change the state of the substance, solid to gas, solid to liquid, or liquid to gas, like that. Okay, so the amount of heat energy at a constant temperature, the amount of heat energy required to change the state, m mass of the substance is Q. m mass కాన్స్టెంట్ టెంపరేచర్ దగ్గర m mass of substance యొక్క స్టేట్ ని మార్చడానికి, అంటే సాలిడ్ టు లిక్విడ్ కావచ్చు, లిక్విడ్ టు గ్యాస్ కావచ్చు, ఓకే, స్టేట్ ని చేంజ్ చేయడానికి అవసరమై హీట్ ఎనర్జీ Q అయితే, then at constant temperature the amount of heat energy required to change the unit state of the unit mass of the substance is Q by m. That is called latent heat. So at constant temperature, the amount of heat energy required, the amount of heat energy or heat required to change the state of the substance, to change the state of unit mass of the substance, is called latent heat. So at constant temperature, the amount of heat energy required to change the state of unit mass of the substance is called latent heat. So this one. Okay, suppose for the given substance, here the latent heat depends on, L depends on nature of the substance. Depends on nature of substance. L depends on nature of substance. Okay. L depends on nature of the substance and state or phase of the substance. L depends on nature of substance and phase of substance, phase or state. And is the given substance in liquid state, solid state, or gas state? Based on that state is also called as the phase. Liquid phase, solid phase, gaseous phase, like that. Phase or state of substance. These are the factors on which the latent heat depends. So what is the SI unit of latent heat? SI unit. You see, latent heat is equal to heat energy by mass. That's why joule per case. CGS unit, calorie per gram. Calorie per gram. Dimension formula of latent heat is equal to dimension formula of latent heat is equal to dimension formula of Q by dimension formula of mass. Dimension formula of Q means heat energy. Heat energy means ml square feet per -2. By mass means capital mm cancel. That implies dimension formula of latent heat is equal to L square T to the power -2. Of course, m is not there. We can write m to the power 0, or we can keep like this. It is the dimension formula of the latent heat. Okay, now latent heat of. So in this case, if it is the heat energy required to at constant temperature, if it is the heat energy required to change the state of the m mass of the substance is Q, then to change the state of unit mass of the substance, heat energy required is Q by m. That is called latent heat. Suppose there is a m mass of the substance at constant temperature. To change the state of the substance, what is the amount of heat energy required means? Therefore, Q is equal to, we can write m into L now. At constant temperature, to change the state or phase of m mass of the substance is equal to m into L. Q is equal to m into L. Okay, now latent heat of fusion of ice. Latent heat of fusion of ice. Fusion of ice. L ice. Latent heat of fusion of ice means, we know in case of ice, suppose you are having ice block or ice at a temperature -5 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. Okay, we are having ice block at a temperature -5 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. Okay, now in order to convert them into water, you supply the heat energy. When you supply the heat energy, at first at atmospheric pressure, as the ice block is at a temperature -5 degrees centigrade, when you supply the heat energy, ice block absorbs the heat energy so that its temperature increases from -5 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade. The temperature changes, temperature rises because ice melts at atmospheric pressure. Ice melts at 0 degrees centigrade. No? That's why to melt the ice, the temperature of the ice must be increased to -5 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. Okay, that's why at that condition, when you supply the heat energy to the ice, first the temperature of the ice increased from -5 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade. After its temperature reaches the 0 degrees centigrade, at that time, when you supply the heat energy further, then there is no change in the temperature of the ice. At 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure, the amount of heat energy supplied is utilized only to change or fuse the ice into water. Suppose here m mass of at constant temperature 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure, m mass of ice requires q amount of heat energy to convert them into water at the same temperature. In case of ice, to change the state of ice at 0 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade only. So to convert the m mass of the ice at 0 degrees centigrade to m mass of water at 0 degrees centigrade, that means there is no change in the temperature. Only state changes occurs. That is called latent heat of fusion of ice. So at 0 degrees centigrade, at atmospheric pressure, in case of ice, at atmospheric pressure, at 0 degrees centigrade, at 0 degrees centigrade, the amount of heat energy required to change the unit mass of the ice into water at the same temperature 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. At atmospheric pressure, that is important. If the pressure changes, the melting point of ice also changes. Atmospheric pressure. At atmospheric pressure, at 0 degrees centigrade, the amount of heat energy required to change the state of unit mass, change the ice into water for unit mass. That is called the latent heat of fusion of ice. At atmospheric pressure, at a temperature 0 degrees centigrade, the amount of heat energy required to change the unit mass of the ice into water, or the amount at atmospheric pressure at 0 degrees centigrade, the amount of heat energy required to change the fuse the unit mass of ice into water is called latent heat of fusion of ice. Okay, its value in SS, its value is in CS system. CGS, CGS value. latent heat of freezing of ice. What is the value? It is equal to 80 calorie per gram. 80 calorie per gram. Okay, that is the latent heat of freezing of ice, 80 calorie per gram. Similarly, latent heat of evaporation of water or latent heat of steam. Latent heat of steam or latent heat of evaporation of water. Latent heat of vaporization of water. Vaporization of water. That is represented with L steam. Okay. At atmospheric pressure, suppose you are given water at certain temperature at atmospheric pressure. When you supply very good. At atmospheric pressure, when you supply the heat energy to the water, then its temperature gradually increases, and when temperature reaches 100 degrees centigrade, at 100 degrees centigrade, if you supply the further heat energy, there is no rise in the temperature of the water. So at the constant temperature 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure, m mass of water needs Q amount of heat energy to convert into vapor or steam. At 100 degrees centigrade, when the temperature of the water is 100 degrees centigrade, at that temperature, if you supply the heat energy, water becomes boils now. That's why at atmospheric pressure at 100 degrees centigrade, m mass of the water requires Q amount of heat energy to convert the total water into steam or to vapor. Okay, then what is the at 100 degrees centigrade, at a constant temperature and pressure, at constant temperature and pressure, the amount of heat energy required to change the unit mass of the water into steam or vapor is called latent heat of evaporation of water or latent heat of steam. That is represented with L steam. L steam. Okay, its value is 540 calorie per gram. 540 calorie per gram. So what about this heat energy supplied in this case? State changes occurs, but heat energy supply no. So in this case, the heat energy supplied is utilized in two ways: to change the state of the substance and to store the internal energy inside it. To convert the water into steam at 100 degrees centigrade, the heat energy supplied here is utilized in two ways. One is to state the change of the system, this water, to change the state of the water, or to convert the water into steam. Some amount of energy is utilized, and the remaining energy is stored in the steam as the energy called internal energy. So, based on the in case of internal energy, etc., we will discuss in another chapter. Okay, this is the latent heat of steam. Now, in this case, at constant temperature, what is the amount of heat energy required to change the state of convert the liquid of mass m into vapor? That means Q is equal to ml steam. Just like here, Q is equal to ml. In case of ice, Q is equal to m into Li. Okay, so this is about the latent heat of the steam. In SI system, how we can write? This is also equal to 540 into 1 calorie means 4.2 joule by 10 power of minus 3. That means 4200 joule per case. Here also 80 calorie per gram means 80 into 4200 joule per case in the SI system. So based on the values given, is it given in CS system or SI system? Based on that, we have to convert them. Okay, this is the latent heat. Okay, some more points. Suppose we are given H2O substance. Example, we are given H2O substance. Substance means in the form of ice it is given. In the form of ice at 0 degrees centigrade. H2O substance at 0 degrees centigrade is given. Okay, now Here gradually we are supplying heat energy to the ice at 0 degrees centigrade. What happens first? At atmospheric pressure, you are given ice at 0 degrees centigrade. At atmospheric pressure, we are given ice at 0 degrees centigrade. Okay, then if you supply the heat energy to the ice, is there any change in the temperature? Is there any change in the temperature? Suppose you are given, here you see, it is temperature you take along y-axis. It is 0 degrees centigrade. So we are given ice at 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. When you supply the heat energy here, as already ice is at 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure, when you supply the heat energy to the ice at 0 degrees centigrade, it is slowly converting into water at the same temperature. It is slowly converting into water at the same temperature. And the temperature mardu, the state changes occurs, ice into water. Now water is available at 0 degrees centigrade. Water is available at 0 degrees centigrade. You listen carefully, all of you. Okay, here at first we are given ice at 0 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. When you supply the heat energy to the ice, you take in a beaker, you heat them. When you supply the heat energy to the ice at 0 degrees centigrade, at first the ice at 0 degrees centigrade absorbs certain amount of heat energy and fused into water at the same temperature. Fused into water at the same temperature. Okay. Then after that, water is available at 0 degrees centigrade. At first, ice is given at 0 degrees centigrade. It is converted into water at the same temperature. It is converted into water at the same temperature. That means ice converts into water at the same temperature. What is the heat energy required for this purpose? What is the heat energy required for this purpose? Only state changes occurs. That's why heat energy required Q1 is equal to mass of ice into latent heat of ice. This is the amount of heat energy required to change the ice into water at same 0 degrees centigrade. అయితే state changes జరిగేటప్పుడు whenever state changes occurs, there is no change in the temperature. State change జరిగేటప్పుడు there is no change in the temperature. That's why note point here, while state changes occurs or state changes occurs. What is the specific heat? Specific heat C is equal to, while phase changes occurs, what is the specific heat? Tell me. C is equal to 1 by m into or 1 by m into dq by dt, general formula. That is equal to, while phase changes occurs, what is the change in temperature? While phase changes occurs, what is the change in temperature? Come on, you respond. 0. Something by 0. We are supplying heat energy, but while phase changes occurs, there is no change of temperature. There is no rise of temperature. That's why dt is 0. Something by 0, infinity. That's why it is infinity. So while phase changes occurs, what is the specific heat of the substance? Means that is infinity. Okay, now at 0 degrees centigrade, when ice at 0 degrees centigrade is supplied the heat energy, by absorbing this heat energy, the state changes occurs and totally converted into water up to this. So this heat energy supplied is equal to m into Li. It is Q1. Up to this, it is Q1. Here, Q1 amount of heat energy supplied here up to this. Okay, now the completely at 0 degrees centigrade, ice is converted into water at 0 degrees centigrade. Now water is available at 0 degrees centigrade. Now when water is available at 0 degrees centigrade, at the time when you supply the further heat energy, then the temperature of the water increases from 0 degrees centigrade up to 100 degrees centigrade. We can raise the temperature. So water state only, but temperature changes. Temperature rises. So to rise the temperature of the water from 0 to 100 degrees centigrade, what is the heat energy required? Means Q2 is equal to mc dt. No, mc dt. dt means rise of temperature, 100 minus 0. So at 0 degrees centigrade, when you supply the Q2 amount of heat energy to the water, its temperature increases from 0 to 100 degrees centigrade. So how we can draw the graph? When water is available at 0 degrees centigrade, at that time, when you further supply the heat energy, then mc is constant. So Q is proportional to rise of temperature only. No, initial temperature is 0. mc into T minus 0. Initial temperature is 0. So amount of heat energy supplied is directly proportional to, so from this point, when water at 0 degrees centigrade is available, at that time when you further supply the heat energy, the temperature proportionally increase according to this formula. So temperature proportionally increase up to 100 degrees centigrade. Up to 100 degrees centigrade. So here heat energy supplied is directly proportional to rise of temperature T2 minus T1 or T minus 0 delta proportional to rise of temperature dt. Okay. So whenever the temperature of the water reaches 100 degrees centigrade, this is the amount of heat energy required. Here we have substitute 100 minus 0. Okay. Now water is available here in this case. While the temperature changes, the heat energy supplied and the temperature of the substance graph, you will get a straight line having positive slope. Here, this represents there is no change in the temperature. That means here state changes occurs. Here state changes. State changes. Here temperature rises. Temperature rises. Okay, next. Now water is available at 100 degrees centigrade. Water is available at 100 degrees centigrade. Whenever the water is available at 100 degrees centigrade, at that time, when you supply the further heat energy, then at the same heat energy, at the same temperature, the water is converted into vapor. That means water convert into steam. Water to steam. So to convert the water into steam, what is the heat energy required? Q is equal to m into latent heat of steam. No. So whenever the temperature of the water reaches 100 degrees centigrade, at that time when you supply further heat energy, then there is no change in the temperature, but the state changes occurs. The state changes occurs. Here state changes. State changes occurs from water into steam. Okay, that's why there is no change of temperature, but state changes occurs. Okay. So that means it is converted into steam. So in this way, you will get temperature versus heat energy supplied graph. Temperature versus heat energy supplied graph. Suppose if you are given water at minus, suppose if you are given water at minus 5 degrees centigrade, same graph. Suppose if you are given water at minus 5 degrees centigrade, you are given water at ice at minus 5 degrees centigrade. One more example. Suppose if you are given water at minus 5 degrees centigrade, say, then at first to raise here to convert the ice into water, the temperature of the ice must be increased to 0 degrees centigrade. So minus 5 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade. We know freezing mixture. We know the freezing mixture. Their temperature is minus 20 degrees centigrade also at atmospheric pressure. So first of all, in order to fuse the ice into water, we have to raise the temperature of the ice from minus 5 to 0 degrees centigrade. To convert minus 5 to 0 degrees centigrade, what is the heat energy required? So here, temperature of ice increases. Temperature of ice increases. To raise the temperature of the ice, heat energy required is equal to say Q1 or Q, which is equal to mass of the ice at minus 5 degrees centigrade into specific heat of ice. Specific heat of ice is 0.5. Specific heat of ice is 0.5 calorie per gram per degree centigrade. Specific heat of water 1 calorie per gram per degree centigrade. Okay. Here, specific heat of so specific heat of ice, specific heat of water. We have to remember these values. Specific heat of water is 1 calorie per gram per degree centigrade. Specific heat of ice is 0.5 calorie per gram per degree centigrade. Okay. Now here, at minus 5 degrees centigrade, when you supply the heat energy to the ice at atmospheric pressure, then its temperature increases up to 0 degrees centigrade. Heat energy required to raise the temperature of ice at minus 5 to 0 degrees centigrade is equal to mc into dt. dt means final temperature 0 minus of initial temperature minus 5. This is the heat energy required. Okay, now whenever the temperature of the substance changes, then rises, then you will get the graph like this now. If the temperature of the ice changes from minus 5 degrees centigrade, to 0 degrees centigrade. So here temperature is 0 degrees centigrade. Here minus 5 degrees centigrade, because coordinates of the origin are taken as minus 5 comma 0. Minus 5 is temperature in this direction, 0 calorie heat energy in this direction. Okay. Now, as usual, whenever the temperature of the ice becomes 0 degrees centigrade, at the time, after that, if you further supply the heat energy, that is, it has to change the state of the ice into water only. After that, water at 0 degrees centigrade is available. Now, when you further supply the heat energy, the temperature of the water raises from 0 to 100 degrees centigrade. Here, in which case, slope is more. While the temperature of the ice changes from -5 to 0 degrees centigrade, I drawn the graph like this because there is a linear relation between temperature and heat energy supplied. Okay, that's why I got the linear relation. I said how we got this one. Okay, in this case, you tell me. Also, you'll get the straight line like this for having positive slope. If the slope of this straight line is more or this straight line is more? If slope of this graph means T by Q. Slope of the graph is T by Q. Okay, T by Q means this is only 5 by this heat energy. You see here, T by Q. What is the slope of this graph? Slope of the graph is equal to, we can write dt by dq or dt by q. dt by q is equal to 1 by mc. M is constant, 1 by c. C is less now. Here, in case of ice, C is less. In case of water, C is more. That's why whenever C is, this is equal to 1 by m into c. General formula. Slope of this T temperature versus heat energy graph, heat energy supplied graph is equal to dt by dq, that is equal to 1 by mc from this formula. Okay. Here, whenever C mass is same in all cases, when C is less, slope will be more. Slope will be more. In case of rise of temperature of the ice from -5 to 0 degrees centigrade, the specific heat is less compared with the specific heat of water. That's why whenever it is less, slope will be more. Here, slope must be less. Slope must be less compared with this one. Okay. In this way, here when temperature of the water increases from 0 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade, then you will get the graph like this. Here, in this case, heat energy supplied is Q2. Here, to raise the temperature of the ice from -5 to 0 degrees centigrade, heat energy supplied is equal to Q. Okay, next, to change the state of the ice from ice into water at the same temperature 0 degrees centigrade, heat energy supplied is equal to Q1. Here, heat energy supplied is equal to Q2. Then, to change the water into steam, heat energy supplied is equal to Q3. So, in this process, what is the total heat energy required? Total heat energy required to change the ice at -5 degrees centigrade into steam at 100 degrees centigrade. Here exactly steam at 100 degrees centigrade. What is the amount of heat energy required? Means you add all of them. That gives the total heat energy required. Q1 plus Q plus Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. It is the total heat energy required to change the ice at -5 degrees centigrade into steam at 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. This is the graph we will get. Here, this horizontal straight line represents state changes factors and it represents the rise of temperature. Okay. This is the temperature versus heat energy supplied graph. Next. Principle of last point in this chapter. Principle of calorimetry or principle of method of mixtures. Principle of calorimetry or principle of method of mixtures. Principle of calorimetry or principle of method of mixtures. You see, suppose it is the non-conducting vessel. Non-conducting vessel means heat energy cannot take, heat energy is not lost through these walls of the container. That's why it is the non-conducting vessel in which liquid is taken. Okay, now Here this liquid is at a temperature T1 degree centigrade and mass is say M1. Mass of the liquid taken is equal to M1. Specific heat of this substance is equal to say C1. Now into this, a substance or solid substance having mass M2 at a temperature T2, T2 is greater than T1. So into this, a substance having mass M2 and a temperature T2 is dropped into this liquid. Okay, and this vessel is closed. There is no transfer of heat energy from the substance, from the mixture, because when you add to this water, then it is called as mixture. From this mixture to the surroundings, there is no loss of heat energy. Such arrangements are made. Or there is no gain of heat energy from the surroundings. And the surroundings in ఎటువంటి heat energy absorb చేసుకోదు, mixture నుంచి heat energy loss కాదు. In such case, when this M2 mass of the substance at temperature T2 is added to the liquid, then whatever the temperature of the liquid, we are given M1 mass of the liquid at a temperature T1 and M2 mass of the substance at a temperature T2. This is at higher temperature. When these two are mixed together, the temperature of the here as it is at high temperature and it is at low temperature, then there is a net transfer of heat energy from the hard substance to the cold substance. అంటే ఈ హార్డ్ సబ్స్టెన్స్ నుంచి కోల్డ్ వాటర్, దీంతో కంపేర్ చేసి కోల్డ్ వాటర్ కాబట్టి కోల్డ్ వాటర్ కి హీట్ అనేది ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అవడం వల్ల the temperature of this water, the liquid gradually rises, and as it loses heat energy, the temperature gradually falls until the temperatures of these two substances reaches a common temperature T3C. In order to increase the temperature of this liquid from T1 to T2, it absorbs the heat energy from the hard substance. Here, in order to fall the temperatures from T2 to T3, it loses heat energy, that is say Q2. As there is no loss of heat energy from the mixture to the surroundings, or there is no gain of heat energy from the surroundings by the mixture, then the loss of heat energy by the solid substance must be equal to gaining heat energy by the liquid. That's why, according to principle of heat and principle of method of mixtures or principle of calorimetry, when no loss of heat energy to the surroundings by the system, then the amount of heat energy lost is equal to amount of heat energy gained. Heat lost is equal to heat gain simply. Heat lost is equal to heat gain. Heat lost means, you see, in order to raise the heat loss means the substance of mass, it is a solid substance. It is the solid substance, because of fall of temperature from T2 to T3, it loses heat energy. So what is the heat energy lost by the substance? We know to change the temperature, the heat energy required is equal to mc dt. No, it is general formula. Now to fall the temperature, heat energy absorbed is equal to how much? Heat energy lost is equal to how much? Mass of the substance into specific of the substance is a C2, specific is a C2 into fall of temperature means temperature falls from T2 to T3. That's why T2 minus T3 is the fall of temperature. That is equal to heat gained, mass of the substance M1 into specific C1 into as heat is gained, the rise in temperature we have to write. Rise in temperature means as temperature is increased from T1 to T3, the rise in temperature is equal to T3 minus T1. It is the heat loss and it is the heat gain. Then what is the common temperature? What is the resultant temperature? They asked. T3 is the resultant temperature. Resultant temperature is equal to T3. That is equal to how much? Everything will be given. But while substituting the data here, we have to see that are the masses are in the same system or not, because ratio type is there. Mass are here M2, M1. Ratio is there. So we can substitute these masses in grams or in kilograms. Okay, but both must be in the same system. Similarly, specific heats. Suppose if you are given specific heats in terms of calorie per gram per degree centigrade, it must be in calorie per gram per degree centigrade, because ratio type is there. Suppose if you are given it is joule per kg per Kelvin, calorie per gram per degree centigrade, we must convert them into the same system. You convert this or this into the same system, then it's okay. Of course, temperatures are in centigrade scale. Of course, as the difference of temperatures are there, we can substitute in Kelvin scale or centigrade scale, no problem. Okay. If you substitute in centigrade scale, you will get value in centigrade. If you substitute in Kelvin, you will get Kelvin in Kelvin scale of temperature. In this way, we can find the common temperature of the body. Okay, next, Joule's law. Joule's law. Suppose one body is one body is moved against the friction. One body here on the rough horizontal surface, for example, on the rough horizontal surface, a body is moved. A body is moved against the friction. A body is moved through certain distance against the friction. That means some here in order to move the body against the friction, some work is to be done now. Otherwise, the body cannot move. That's why by doing some work, the body is displaced through certain distance against the friction. Whatever the amount of work done against the friction. అంటే ఫ్రిక్షన్ కి అగ్నిస్ట్ గా బాడీని మూవ్ చేయడానికి కొంత వర్క్ చేయాలి. సో వాట్ ఎవర్ దట్ వర్క్ డన్ ఇన్ మూవింగ్ ద బాడీ అగ్నిస్ట్ ద ఫ్రిక్షన్. ఓకే, దట్ వర్క్ డన్ అగ్నిస్ట్ ద ఫ్రిక్షన్ ఇన్ మూవింగ్ ద బాడీ ఈస్ కన్వర్టెడ్ ఇంటూ హీట్ ఎనర్జీ. Is converted into heat energy. If more work is done against the friction, more heat energy is developed. If less amount of work is done, less amount of heat energy is produced. Okay, suppose if you rub the two hands like two palms, you keep in contact and you move like this. To move the hand over the another against the friction, some work is to be done. Such work done is produced in the form of heat energy. That's why when you rub like this and after some time, if you see the hands, the temperature of the hands rises. Because the work done against the friction is converted into heat energy. So the amount of work done is directly proportional to the amount of heat energy produced. Amount of heat energy produced, Q. Or amount, it is called Joule's law. In general, not only in this case, I have taken one example, but in any case, the amount of work done is directly proportional to the amount of heat energy produced. If less amount of work is done, less amount of heat energy produced. Okay, that's why the amount of work done is directly proportional to amount of heat energy produced, or amount of work done is equal to some proportionality constant J into heat energy produced. This proportionality constant J is called that is called Joule's constant or mechanical equivalence of heat. Joule's constant or mechanical equivalent of heat. Mechanical equivalent of heat. Mechanical equivalent of heat. So from this J is equal to, how we can write? J is equal to W by Q, no? J is equal to W by Q. Here it is constant because it is the proportionality constant, no? It is constant. So its value is, this Joule's constant value is equal to 4.2. 4.2 Joule, work means Joule, by heat means calorie. Joule per calorie. So mechanical equivalent of heat or Joule's constant is equal to 4.2 Joule per calorie. Okay, this is also important one. Based on this Joule's law, problems may be asked. Some note points. First one, suppose one body having mass m is dropped from a height h1. One body is dropped from a height h1. Then after collision, it rebounds to a height h2. It rebounds to a height h2. Then it is dropped from a height h1, but after collision, it rebounds to a height h2, which is less than this height h1. That means some potential length is lost now. Some potential length is lost now. Some potential energy is lost here. If that loss of potential energy is converted into heat energy and if it is absorbed by the block alone, then what is the rise in temperature of the block? They may ask like that. So here loss of potential energy is equal to loss of energy. Loss of energy is equal to gain in heat energy. Gain, loss of heat energy is equal to loss of energy. Loss of potential energy is converted into heat energy. So heat produced is equal to loss of potential energy. What is the loss of potential energy? Whenever it is at a height h1, the potential energy is mgh1. When it is at a height h2, potential energy is mg into h2. So loss of potential energy is this one. If this loss of potential energy is converted into heat energy and is absorbed by this block alone, what is the rise in temperature of the substance? They may ask like that. Okay, so this is equal to, according to conservation of energy principle, loss of potential energy is equal to heat energy supplied to raise the temperature of the block. ఎందుకంటే ఈ లాస్ అయిన ఎనర్జీ మొత్తం కూడా హీట్ ఎనర్జీగా మారి అదే బ్లాక్ అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకుంది అన్నాడు. లాస్ ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ ఇస్ అబ్జార్బ్డ్ బై ద బ్లాక్ అలోన్. దేర్ ఇస్ నో అబ్జార్ప్షన్ ఆఫ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ లాస్ట్ బై ద ఫ్లోర్. ఇక్కడ ఎంత ఎనర్జీ అయితే లాస్ అయిందో ఆ ఎనర్జీ మొత్తాన్ని కూడా ఇదే బ్లాక్ అబ్జార్బ్ చేస్తుంది అన్నాడు. మరి బ్లాక్ అబ్జార్బ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు వాట్ ఇస్ ద హీట్ ఎనర్జీ రిక్వైర్డ్ టు రైజ్ ద టెంపరేచర్ ఆఫ్ ది బ్లాక్? దట్ ఈస్ ఈక్వల్ టు ms ఇంటూ mc ఇంటూ డెల్టా థీటాను ఆ డెల్టా టీను. డెల్టా టీ is the rise in temperature. Okay, therefore delta T is equal to, that is equal to rise of temperature is equal to m can be cancelled, g you take common, h1 minus h2 by c. This is the rise in temperature of the block. Rise of temperature of the block. Sometimes we will be given here the loss of energy. Whenever the block dropped from a height h1, it rises to a height h2. If the loss of energy, a part of 30% of loss of energy is converted into heat energy and absorbed by the block under. If 40% of energy is lost by the 40% of energy lost is converted into heat energy which is absorbed by the block under. అప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి? ఈ లాస్ అయిన ఎనర్జీలో ఓన్లీ 40% మనం హీట్ ఎనర్జీగా తీసుకోవాలి. 40% హీట్ ఎనర్జీగా తీసుకోవాలి. వాట్ ఇస్తాడు? వాట్ పర్సెంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ లాస్ ఈస్ కన్వర్టెడ్ ఇంటూ హీట్ ఎనర్జీ అండ్ ఈస్ అబ్జర్బ్డ్ బై ద బ్లాక్ అనేది వాట్ ఇస్తాడు. దాన్ని బట్టి ఆ పర్సెంటేజ్ నోట్ చేసుకోండి. ఇంకొకటి నెక్స్ట్ ఇంకా డిఫరెంట్ వేస్ లో అడుగుతాడు. Second one, suppose on the rough horizontal surface, a block of mass m is projected with a velocity say u. A block of mass m is projected with a velocity u on the rough horizontal surface. Okay, whenever on the rough horizontal surface, when this block is projected with a velocity u, then after travel some distance, it comes to rest. That's why final velocity becomes 0. So what is the work done here? Work done against the friction is equal to loss of work done is equal to final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. That means final kinetic energy kf minus ki. This is the here work done by the friction. Because of work done by the friction, the kinetic energy is lost. That's why work done by the friction is equal to this one. Okay, so because of work is done by the friction, the amount of heat energy lost, the amount of kinetic energy lost is equal to, according to work energy theorem, whenever the body travels from this position to this position, the loss of kinetic energy is equal to this minus this. That means half mu square minus 0. It is the loss of kinetic energy. If this loss of kinetic energy is converted into heat energy and absorbed by the block alone, then what is the rise in temperature? That is equal to loss of kinetic energy is equal to amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of the block. That's why mc into delta theta or delta t. So here mm cancel, then delta t in this case is equal to u square by 2c. It is the rise in temperature of the block. Rise of temperature. Suppose the loss of 20% of loss of kinetic energy is converted into heat energy and absorbed by the block అంటాడు. అప్పుడు ఈ లాస్ అయిన కైనెటిక్ ఎనర్జీ మొత్తంలో ఓన్లీ 20% తీసుకోండి. 20/100 into half mu square is equal to mc into delta t. Okay, from that you find delta t. So in this way we can do the problems. Okay, these are the some important note points. Now based on this we have to do the problems. These are the concepts.